Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Camera's on, the sound's on, everything's good. I noticed that last time the sound wasn't on for the first minute or so. We've got that fixed. This is real independent media. There's going to be some hiccups along the way, but know that you're getting the truth here and you're going to get the unapologetic truth, unlike what you may get at CBS News, certainly not Fox News, although we are going to be checking out some Fox News today. We're going to be looking at how conservatives across the country are panicking right now. Everyone's pressing the alarm button because Donald Trump is losing. He's losing support across the nation. His base is dwindling. There are still diehard Trump loyalists. Let's not mince words here. People will go with him all the way until the end, and they will take the country with them if they have to. But you know that the moderate Trump supporters who voted for him because they wanted to deport the worst criminals and they wanted to improve the economy, release the Epstein files, and get out of wars, well, none of those things are happening. And therefore, all these people are actually starting to abandon ship. You see it left and right. You see it all the time. And so this is what's happening right now. Thanks for being here. We got a delicious matcha, by the way. And what do we think about this new Chiron? Looks amazing, right? Looks amazing. Let me know in the chat where you're watching from today. Love seeing people from all different nations because obviously we're recording live from California, USA, but understand that what's happening in the USA is not just unique to here. And if you are watching from anywhere in the world, you will be affected by this because we talk a lot about how what happens in America will impact the rest of the country, the rest of the world in a big way. Obviously, America has a massive sphere of influence, and Donald Trump loves getting involved in other countries as well. So we got one viewer from Ohio. Welcome, Jennifer. Welcome in, everybody. Thanks for being here. Welcome to The Pulse with your host, Josh Greene. This is, like I said, real independent media. If you enjoy the show and you enjoy what you see today, click the like button. That's the #1 way to boost this show because it helps make sure people see it on their homepage of YouTube. It helps populate this show onto people's browsers. Make sure you're subscribed. Do me a favor and double check that you're subscribed because sometimes people think they're subscribed, but they're not actually. It's free. It's just a way to stay up to date on my videos. You can even turn on post notifications by clicking the bell icon when you subscribe. That way you never miss a notification about a new video. And lastly, if you want to support the channel, you can click join and join as a member for less than $5. It's a great way to support the work directly. It gives you some cool exclusive perks, and it means a lot. So thanks to all of our members, and thanks to everybody being here at the top of the show. Someone says they're tired. Believe me, this has been a tiring term, but we need to make sure that we don't just return to a pre-Trump world. We need to set the tone for a new United States of America, one that never risks allowing this to happen again, one that actually delivers on issues that people care about so that somebody like Trump can't achieve power and manipulate people's votes. Hello from Michigan. Hi from Minneapolis. Hey, Minneapolis, we're with you. You know what? Things are crazy there right now. But I will say what's happening in Minneapolis is not just unique to Minneapolis. That is going to continue to spread around the country. And Minneapolis right now is a testing ground. It's ground zero for what the Trump administration wants to do this year to prepare for the midterms by putting the military in U.S. cities. So I want to get everybody in here real quick, and we're going to talk about a few different topics today. One thing we should definitely talk about is Tulsi Gabbard, the complaint that apparently is locked in a safe. So Trump's director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, apparently there's some really damning news about her that is so bad that they had to lock it away, which is insane. The fact that it's more dangerous to let this news come out than to allow her to continue running our government. We're going to talk about Republicans panicking, like I said, about the Texas special election that just took place. And of course, we should also talk about the Epstein files because things have gotten crazy. And Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, you can hear him panicking on the news. This guy has no confidence whatsoever in what he's saying. He's absolutely panicking over this entire situation, and it's definitely worth our attention.
Join now.
So let me read a few more people's comments before we really dive into it today. Hello from Arizona. Hi from Massachusetts. Hello from Canada. Trump is using America for his personal bank. Absolutely. You know, the Melania movie, which was a total flop, really just filled Melania Trump's pockets. They paid her for her usage rights to be in that movie. Now understand, even though the movie flopped, it's fine for Amazon because it was a drop in the bucket for them, but it was a gift to Donald Trump and to Melania so they could have good favors in the Trump administration. So it is good that nobody saw it, but this was their goal all along, was to just appease Melania, therefore appeasing Trump. As the most corrupt administration in American history continues to enrich themselves through the presidency. Let's see who else. New Jersey, welcome. How do we ensure we don't go through this every 4 years? In my opinion, every author of Project 2025 should be prosecuted for treason. That blueprint serves no good or legit purpose. Absolutely right. You know, what is frightening is apparently there are some Democrats that are trying to create Project 2029. But it is not ideal because it is currently being run by Cory Booker, one of the most moderate and lackluster Democrats we have, who, you know, talks a big game, specifically talks a lot. He, you know, went for the record longest speech on the Senate floor during that massive filibuster he had that absolutely went nowhere. But Cory Booker, you know, talks a big game. He talks a lot. But then when the time comes for actual opposition or resistance, we haven't seen much from him, from Chuck Schumer, from Hakeem Jeffries. Chuck Schumer, who needs to step aside yesterday. Hey, Empty the Paint, thanks for becoming a member on YouTube. Appreciate you for supporting the show. Thank you so much, my friend. Yeah, we don't need any more Central Dems, but I do want to show you guys a little bit about this scoop. So here's a new story. This is on Axios. You know, not my favorite, but let's read into it. Scoop. Democrats Project 2029 names leader. Actually, real quick, let me, I want to record a little bit of this so everybody can understand exactly what we're talking about here. Because this shit's crazy. This is absolutely insane stuff we're going to talk about. Okay. All right. Check this out. I'll tell you all about it. Perfect. That looks amazing, right? Everybody can read that clearly. Look how beautiful that looks. Wow. Okay. Awesome. All right. Give me 1 second. We're going to test this out. Thanks for everybody for being here. I do have a Substack. Link is in my description box. Once we dive into these stories today, it's harder for me to see the chat. Although if you send a super chat, I make sure not to miss those because obviously you're a contributor to the show, and I want to make sure that your comment gets read aloud for everybody to hear, as long as it's not hate speech or misinformation. Those are my only rules. I think it's pretty obvious to all of us here what misinformation and hate speech are. Okay. Without further ado, I'm going to press that button. Oh, timeout. Okay, cool. All right. Insane news out of Washington, D.C., where Democrats are talking about launching their counter to Project 2025 called Project 2029. This playbook, this plan would be in place for if the Democrats take back power in 2028, which would be ideal and better than anybody in the MAGA cult. But Project 2029, although it sounds like it would have a nice set of policies attached to it, isn't exactly going as far as we would like, especially when you read into who is actually authoring Project 2029 and what it will actually entail. Let's dive into it together here on The Pulse. By the way, this is real independent media. We are sharing the truth about what happens here in the US and around the world. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, click the like button, and consider joining as a member here on YouTube to contribute to the show. Without further ado, let's take a look at Project 2029 and what it's all about. Scoop. Democrats Project 2029 names leader. Project 2029, a new policy group preparing for a Democrat to win the White House in 2028, has named an executive director and plans to put out its first policy ideas in March. Axios has learned. Why it matters. Project 2029 is one of several liberal groups already battling over who will staff the next Democratic administration and what policy ideas they'll embrace. Now, one thing I want to make absolutely clear to everybody is I am not a liberal. I am a leftist. And for a lot of people in America, that may seem confusing because we think liberals are the left-wing party, when in reality, liberals, still want to support capitalism. I support democratic socialism, eco-socialism, and I actually support real progressive candidates that want to push the party in a better direction, which is why it's concerning to hear that the liberals, which we'll get into, the likes of Cory Booker and others, are the ones that are trying to set the tone for what the next administration will look like. This is, again, a classic schism we've seen in the Democratic Party for years now between the Bernie Sanders and the AOCs and the Zohran Mamdanis, and then you've got the Chuck Schumers, Hakeem Jeffries, and Cory Bookers. One aspect of the Democratic Party is trying to push the party in a more progressive agenda. They're trying to actually have policies that help the country, help workers, help American families. And then you have the status quo, establishment Democrats that want to defeat Trump, but continue to lose to Trump because they're not running on any bold policy ideas. But let's take a look at what Project 2029 is all about. Democrats are copying similar efforts by conservatives during the Biden presidency, such as Project 2025 and America First Legal, that many believe enabled the Trump administration to hit the ground running in his second term with a flurry of executive actions. During the news, Chad Maisel, who worked at the Biden White House's Domestic Policy Council, and for New Jersey Senator Cory Booker, will lead Project 2029. There's a recognition from the last decade plus that the same old playbook isn't working, Maisel told Axios. Project 2029 will put forward an agenda that is bigger and bolder than what people have been offered before. Well, in March, I suppose we will find out what policies are in Project 2029, and maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised. But the resume of Cory Booker has not impressed me thus far. I've never actually heard any specific policy or idea Cory Booker wants to bring to the Democratic Party. If this doesn't include universal health care, no new wars, and actually supporting American families, I don't know what in this project would get people excited, but we will find out nonetheless. Maisel said the group will not be center-left or left-wing, but will publish ideas from across the Democratic Party. Like the pro-Trump Project 2025 before, Project 2029 plans to release dozens of policy proposals and ultimately compile them into one large book as a blueprint for the next Democratic president. What's next? The group says it already has enlisted 200 people for its working groups, but is keeping the participants secret unless they write the proposals. Okay, so that's also kind of a red flag to me. Why are we keeping the contributors secret? Very bizarre, and makes me feel like they're not going to actually invite or involve people who need to actually win, people that actually can defeat Trumpism, can defeat MAGA. Do you really think that Cory Booker or somebody like a Cory Booker will be able to take on J.D. Vance or Tucker Carlson or whoever runs on the right? Maybe, because their ideas are so extreme and so radical and so unpopular. But at the same time, it's not going to be Trump anymore. And so the Democrats can't just run on defeating Trump. They have to run on, what are we going to deliver? What are we going to provide for people? We saw the way Mamdani went not only against the right and all the right-wing extremists that tried to stop him, but he also took on the Democratic establishment. He fought a battle on two fronts and dominated that race. And how did he do that? Because he had clear, productive policy ideas, and he laid them out plainly. He had three main ideas that he emphasized over and over again. Just like Trump, he was a great communicator. He said, we're going to freeze the rent, we're going to have free childcare, and we're going to make the buses fast and free. And he's already delivered on free childcare. The freeze the rent will be delivered as soon as he modifies the Rent Guidelines Board. And the buses aspect is something that he's working with the governor on as well. So it's been only a couple weeks and he's already delivered on policy. We can't have Democrats that run on some ideas that aren't even necessarily that exciting and then not deliver on those ideas because they say they have to go through years of debate in Congress. You know, one thing that's been so impressive about Trump, whether you like him or you hate him, is that he's been able to steamroll and just get all his radical agenda accomplished. And when somebody takes power after Trump, not only do they need to quickly undo all the damage that he's done, but we need to set the tone for what happens next and do it quickly. It can't take 4 years. It can't take 8 years. We're already behind now. The climate disaster is getting worse. Our economy is going to start lagging behind other countries. Our standing in the global affair is going to also decline over the next few years. So we have to make sure that we become a reliable partner around the world. We're able to work with other countries instead of starting new wars, which is what the Trump administration plans to do. Let's read a little bit more about this. The group initially was part of the Policy Quarterly Democracy, a journal of ideas, but decided last October that it would operate separately. Searchlight Institute launched last year with the goal of pushing the Democratic Party to reject some progressive positions that group believes had alienated voters. What progressive positions alienated voters? I find it much more likely that voters have been alienated because they feel like the Democratic Party has abandoned them and they feel like the Democratic Party doesn't listen to them, versus the Democrats, like I said, like Mamdani, who are winning because they didn't reject the progressive positions. They adopted even more progressive positions and then won. Look at what just happened in Texas, which we'll also talk about on this show. In Texas, a Democrat won, and it was by no means a run-of-the-mill establishment middle ground Democrat. He ran on some pretty progressive policy and won in a big way in a Trump ruby red area. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, but understand that he didn't win just by being a moderate Democrat to try and get the center-right people. Those people don't exist. We cannot be pandering to the right to try and get these right-wing lunatics. They are all deep in the Trump camp. But it's what happens when good people don't vote because the Democrats aren't exciting, that we allow evil to win. The other side, Trump campaign leaders were angry about Project 2025 because it embraced some policies that were politically unpopular and Trump didn't support. That's a bullshit claim, by the way. This is just another reason why We Are Real independent news and what's happening on networks like Axios is ridiculous. Trump absolutely loved everything in Project 2025, and only things that were slightly unpopular during the campaign trail did he pretend to reject, but he's since adopted many of those things anyway. Project 2025, however, would be a reliable roadmap for a lot of Trump second-term actions on issues including immigration, the Justice Department, and DEI. See, Republicans could use Project 2029 to attack the next Democratic nominee. What are they going to attack with? It's going to be the most moderate, boring thing imaginable, and then they're going to claim that the Democrats are socialists, communists, Marxists. If the Republicans are going to call us socialists, communists, Marxists, even if we run the Kamala Harrises of the world, the Cory Bookers of the world, people who are absolutely not socialists, they're going to call us socialists anyway, then we might as well run real socialist candidates. Because if they're going to call a moderate a socialist, then they're going to call a socialist a socialist. And so what difference does it make? We should actually run the progressive candidates. I don't know what they think is going to happen. But anyway, that is the news surrounding Project 2029. A lot of people aren't talking about this yet because it's brand new, but it's going to get talked about, especially if the Democrats pour a lot of money and time into this. So far, I am not impressed with what I see about this. And look, this is just my opinion, and this is what you come to. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to tell you the truth. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I don't think this is a good idea. I think if there's going to be a blueprint for a post-Trump world, it has to include the Green New Deal. It has to include universal health care, a housing plan, a plan to make childcare universal, a plan to help cancel student debt for good, a plan to make college free for people to actually study and get better paying jobs, a plan for an AI world. We need to make sure that AI is regulated, can be used as a tool, but that billionaire AI owners aren't carving us up into districts and making us all slave labor. So thank you for listening on Project 2029. Again, if you're liking this show, make sure to like and subscribe. Share this with a friend to help me share the truth, and I appreciate it. All right, let me read a couple of your chats, and then we will dive into the next topic of today. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thank you for the time today. All righty, let's look at a couple of these chats. Yep, nobody wants run-of-the-mill politicians. Let's see what else people are saying in the chat. I want to show you now what happened in this Texas special election, because obviously Trump should be very concerned. Let me make sure I've got this pulled up. I do. Because, yeah, it's really bad for Trump out there right now, as it should be. I mean, his entire, platform is a complete disaster. Not sure how anybody would support it at all. Therefore, he's losing, and he's losing a lot of support very quickly. So, over the weekend, Trump and the Republicans had a massive failure as Democrats continue to win special elections, including in ruby red Texas, where Trump and a Trump-backed candidate lost badly in a place that Trump won himself by 17 points. A Democrat just won the Texas State Senate seat there. And it's absurd what's happening because people are absolutely jumping overboard. They are leaving the Trump train because he didn't improve the economy. He didn't really release the Epstein files, and what he did release shows that he's involved. He didn't stop wars. In fact, he's starting new wars, and he didn't deport the worst of the worst criminals. In fact, he's just using ICE to terrorize America. So I want to show you what some analysts are saying about the election numbers, and we will react accordingly to what's happening in this country.
Morning, there are Republicans across the country who are nervous. This morning, there are Republicans across the country who are nervous. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis put this on Twitter. He said, special elections are quirky and not necessarily projectable, re a general election. That said, a swing of this magnitude is not something that can be dismissed. Republicans should be clear-eyed about the political environment heading into the midterm. What is he talking about? What has him and other Republicans so worried? CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton is here. And this is all about a special election for a Texas state Senate seat.
Three times, but I got no credit for it. That's exactly right. I won that state 3 times, Texas but the rigged state, really rigged badly with the Somalians and the Somalians.
Jesus.
Happened in Texas 9. It didn't just swing to the left, it took a rocket ship to the left. My goodness gracious, the Texas 9 Senate District election marches. This was a district that Donald Trump won by 17 points in 2024. The Democratic candidate in the special election on Saturday, won it by 14 points.
And again, just like I talked about in the previous segment, this Democrat seems pretty progressive. He didn't just run on status quo, boring, weak policy ideas. He got people excited to vote, and it's so ridiculous because at the same time this just happened, in a place Trump won by 17 points and a Democrat now carried by 14 points, an over 30-point shift, you've got the Cory Bookers of the world in Project 2029 who say we need to be cautious about including progressive ideas that could alienate the voters. Folks, this is Josh the Progressive. We're going to talk about progressive issues and how they're actually going to get people to vote.
That's an over 30-point shift to the left. Any Republican, unlike Ron DeSantis, who doesn't take this seriously, they should realize that this is very perilous. They ignore this result at their own peril. Ron DeSantis is right to say, hey, special elections can be quirky, but this ain't no quirk.
Congressman Pete Sessions from Texas basically told me, he said, no Democrat should ever win in North Texas like this. Although he also said, there was an ice storm, 31 points. That's not an ice storm.
No, that ain't no ice storm. If you ignore this, you're going to ice yourself out of a majority come the midterm.
All right, when we look at these special elections, and this is something you and I talk about a lot and look at very closely in between the federal elections, what can they tell us?
Okay, so you see this 31-point shift to the left, right? If this were just one election, that would be one thing. But it's the slew of special elections that together paint a picture, and it's a picture that Democrats should love and a picture that Republicans should be really worried about. Because what are we talking about here? Okay, the average 2025, 26 special election, Democrats are doing, get this, 12 points better. 12 points better than Kamala Harris did in 2024. That was a state special.
By the way, folks, everybody is trying to dissect the 2024 election and find out, why did Democrats lose? Why did Trump win? I don't think there's one specific reason. There's a lot of factors that all, came together at the same time. It was the perfect storm of an unpopular incumbent in the Biden-Harris administration. Look, as much as we all supported that more than Trump, there's no denying that Biden was an unpopular president because he was a bad communicator. And he had trouble passing his progressive agenda because there were moderate Democrats in Congress who were stopping his progressive agenda. Plus, his support for Israel, plus the economy was still struggling after COVID, even though the entire world economy was struggling from COVID. And the economy we see today largely is because of Biden getting us out of the COVID pandemic. Kamala Harris, not a necessarily effective messenger on the campaign trail, didn't adopt the most progressive policies, and was associated with Biden. So it was the perfect storm. With that said, look at the way Democrats are doing now. It's because people already see Trump didn't do anything on the economy that he promised he would. And the Democrats are actually taking note that, hey, if we campaign on affordability and American issues instead of just anti-Trump, we can start to win again.
Election that happened in Texas on Saturday. If you look at the federal special elections, this 12 points is actually north of 15 points on average. I was looking back through the history books. This looks a whole heck of a lot like what we saw during the 2017-2018 cycle, where you saw these Democrats outperforming how Hillary Clinton did in 2016. And what did it forecast? It forecast a net gain of 40 seats for Democrats. And I remember back in Pennsylvania, remember there was that Southwestern, that was a congressional special election seat, but that was one in which the Democratic candidate was able to actually win a deeply red Republican district, and that, of course, foretold big Democratic gains come 2018.
Foretells how? I mean, how frequently do these special elections foretell what happens in the midterms?
Okay, so you see this 12-point overperformance. You see this 31-point overperformance. But that don't mean nothing if it ain't forecastable to the midterm elections. So what are we looking at here? Well, take a look at special elections since all the way back in the 2005-2006 cycle. 5 out of 5 times the party that outperforms in the special elections goes on to win the U.S. House of Representatives. And this, of course, all paints a picture, right? Texas 9, the special elections, the history of special elections, in which Democrats look like they're in the catbird seat to take back the U.S. House come 2026 November.
Which is why Ron DeSantis and others are nervous this morning. Harry,
they should be.
Thank you very much. Kate.
Harry, will you put your first slide back up?
That guy is ridiculous, by the way. He's so comedic with the way he talks about the polls.
As I bring in the Democratic Congressman Adam Smith of Washington to talk more about this. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Congressman, thank you so much for being here. That what Harry and John were just talking about, this 31-point shift in a special election, a state Senate seat in Texas. You see that and you think what?
I think Republicans are in trouble, and we've got a real opportunity in the elections coming up this year. It becomes very clear Donald Trump's policies are doing great damage to this country, and the Republican Party is going along with every single one of them. Whether you're talking about health care cuts, the tariffs, ICE terrorizing the people of Minneapolis and across the country, the president, doing things like, shutting down the Kennedy Center and tearing down the White House, acting more like a monarch than a democratically elected president. All of that has made Trump incredibly unpopular, number one. Number two, people have rallied all across this country. Millions of people have showed up to protest these policies. And also, don't look now, the Democratic Party actually is messaging fairly effectively. Our leadership, during the government shutdown, I think focused on healthcare, focused on what Trump was doing in a very effective way. Now, the elections are a long way away. We got a lot of work to do, but certainly right now, the Republican Party is in deep trouble.
And for some context here, you have been one who has been a vocal Democrat speaking out to say the Democrats need to get their message straight ever since the 24 election. You came on shortly after that to lay out your prescription for basically Democrats need to get their act together. So context around your commentary here.
One more thing, Democrats scored a pair of surprising special election wins in Texas. In Houston, Christian Menefee won a House race, narrowing the slim Republican majority.
President Trump, my message to you is this. You've gone nearly a year without hearing from the people of the 18th Congressional District of Texas. The results here tonight.
By the way, this is what I'm saying. Christian Menefee, his platform is further to the left than most Democrats in a conservative area in Texas. But this just shows that when you actually run on issues that people care about, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. You can win as a progressive Democrat in a very red area because the issues transcend party lines.
Our mandate for me to work as hard as I can to oppose your agenda, to fight back against.
And the hits keep coming for Republicans ahead of the 2026 midterm election in the Texas State Senate. Union leader and Air Force veteran Taylor Ramett flipped a deep red seat. Ramett's win is notable and being considered a wake-up call, frankly, for Republicans. That's because Trump actually won that district by 17 points in 2024. Ramett won by 14 points, so roughly a 31-point difference. The group chat is back. I hate to give people math early in the morning, but the math matters, because right now, if someone has a cold in the House, Mike Johnson is worried. Will they be there for the vote? What's going on? Like, it's narrow enough that these things matter.
Yeah, with that House win for the Democrats, that's a one-seat majority now that the Republicans have. But look, this is. Special elections are always overread, I think, for what they mean. In this case, a 31-point swing in a district that is often seen as sort of a bellwether with what it reflects around other voting trends around the country. And look, I think you can maybe go to what Donald Trump himself said about this. He said, when he was asked about it yesterday, "You mean I won by 17 and this person lost? Things like that happen. I'm not on the ballot." That might be, in fact, the problem for the Republicans.
Yeah, I mean...
I don't know how you can try to downplay this. I mean, yeah, sure, Trump's not on the ballot, but Trump pretended very hard like he didn't endorse this candidate, even though he begged people to vote for this candidate, and this candidate got killed. So he was associated with Trump, and you should absolutely take something from this, because this has been a trend now for all these special elections where the progressives have been winning, moderate Democrats don't perform as well, and Republicans are getting killed because they're even worse than the moderate Democrats. So, anyway, that's all on that. And now let's talk about the Epstein files. The Epstein files. I want everybody to watch Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. This guy is a lunatic, man. He has no idea what he's doing. He's got no idea what's happening. It is insane. It's absolutely insane, but I want everyone to see this. Let me show you.
Here with me now is Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I want to start with the Epstein files. Elon Musk, who is mentioned in some of these files, wrote, quote, "What matters is not the release of some subset of Epstein files, but rather the prosecution of those who committed heinous crimes with Epstein. When there is at least one arrest, some justice will have been done. If not, this is all performative, nothing but a distraction." Is the Department of Justice considering bringing any additional charges here?
Well, look, I can't talk about any investigations, but I will say the following, which is that in July, the Department of Justice said that we had reviewed the files, the quote Epstein files, and there was nothing in there that allowed us to prosecute anybody. We then released over 3.5 million pieces of paper, which the entire world can look at now and see if we got it wrong. And so
this guy acts like it's nothing. He's like, we released like 3.5 million pieces of paper. Okay, 3.5 million files. That's not a small amount of information. Second of all, it's not 3.5 million pieces of paper. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of photos. We're also talking about video files, not just pieces of paper. We've got photo evidence, we've got video evidence, emails, text messages, letters, etc. Absolutely absurd the way they're trying to downplay this. You can literally see and hear the panic in this motherfucker's face.
So it's not performative, and I respectfully disagree with that statement. We were ordered to do so by Congress and then by the President of the United States, and that's what we did. And let me, I said it on Friday, this Justice Department, the FBI, DHS, we have gone after more sex traffickers, more child pornographers, more men who have done harm to children and young women than any administration in history. And so we need to separate those two ideas, the fact that there's the Epstein files and whether there's anybody there that we can...
It's like, don't blame us for allowing the biggest cover-up in American history of the most notorious pedophiles and child rapists, because there was a literal sex trafficking ring that we had. Pretend like we didn't do any of that. Focus more on the fact that we arrested that lady selling fruit outside Home Depot because we claimed that she was married to a MS-13 gangbanger. What?
Go after, and the work that we are doing every day, which is extraordinary, and we will continue to do that.
Among these new files is a list compiled by the FBI just in August of numerous salacious and, to be really clear, unverified allegations about President Trump. Why did the FBI create this list last year, and have all of these claims been investigated by the DOJ?
So look, it's not about President Trump. It's about a ton of people, multiple people that were, quote, in the Epstein files. And what I think folks will see when they review the materials we released is that there have been hundreds of calls made to the FBI where allegations are made by either anonymous individuals or people who are very quickly determined to not be credible, whether it's the nature of what they're saying or the fact they won't provide any information or corroboration. And that's part of the Epstein files.
I do want to move on. Former CNN anchor Don Lemon and another journalist, Georgia Fort, were arrested on Friday on charges they violated federal law during a tense protest at a Minnesota church. A conservative federal judge, somebody who clerked for Antonin Scalia, already had rejected those warrants and wrote that there is no evidence that those two engaged in any criminal behavior or conspired to do so. Then an appeals court held up that decision. Why did you then bring this case to a grand jury after it already had been rejected by multiple judges?
So first of all, that appeals court, that's, right. The appeals court, a judge on the appeals court said that there was clearly probable cause. There was absolutely probable cause that a crime had been committed. Okay, so it's true that they rejected the mandamus petition, but yes, by Mr. Lemon and others, it's public. And so, yes, you're right, a judge in that court had said there wasn't probable cause. But guess what? Our system doesn't allow judges to make that decision. They can make that decision to get an arrest warrant on a complaint, but only a grand jury can bring forth an indictment. And so that's what we did. We went to a grand jury, which, as you know, are 25 citizens from Minneapolis and around that decide whether there's probable cause. And that's who returned an indictment.
Mr. Blanche, I want to go, actually, I went through the entire indictment, all 29 alleged overt acts of conspiracy. And there's a lot to ask you about, but I'm just going to pick a few here, okay? Starting with overt act number 20, which says, quote, defendant Lemon told his live stream audience about congregants leaving the church and about a young man who Lemon could see was frightened, scared, and crying. And Lemon observed that the congregants' reactions were understandable because the experience was traumatic and uncomfortable, which he said was the purpose. Overt Act 21 says, quote, as the operation continued, defendant Lemon acknowledged the nature of it by expressing surprise that the police hadn't yet arrived at the church and admitted knowing that the whole point of the operation was to disrupt. Why wouldn't a jury at trial see this as a journalist observing what is happening, which is protected by the First Amendment?
Well, you conveniently left out multiple allegations in that indictment about what else Mr. Lemon did, including surreptitiously avoiding saying where they were going, being part of the planning, being part of the decisions to make sure the police didn't know this was happening and federal law enforcement didn't know this is happening. There are multiple allegations there, and guess what? He gets to have a lawyer and he gets to have a defense. And so if he wants to go forward with the defense that, oh, shucks, I was just a journalist, he can do that. But obviously, as the indictment lays out, and which you didn't read on the air, there's a lot of things that Mr. Lemon did that you would never do as a journalist. You would never do that.
Okay,
Let's be honest.
This is not about me. This is about what happened.
The deflection is insane. This guy is so bad at his job. It's absurd.
And this is about kind of the rules of the road. I mean, there are many.
But
Let me
matter.
finish my question. Let me finish my question, and then you have the floor. There are countless examples of when reporters are embedded with people with, DOD.
Also, he acts like they've done everything with the Epstein files. It's either in this interview or a different interview. He's like, the Epstein files is done. It's over. There's nothing else to do. Brother, you have millions and millions of files that you're still hiding from us. And they were all supposed to be released. So if they were all supposed to be released, how come most of them aren't released yet? And if this is what you've released, and it's already so damning, accusations that Trump used women as child sex slaves, accusations that Trump auctioned women off at parties for calendar girls or whatever, then what are you really hiding? If this is what you're okay releasing, then what is still being concealed?
Where we are told not to tell anybody where we're going. There are numerous examples of when we get embargoed information that we can't report from your agency, for example, and that has happened on with presidents in both parties, and we withhold reporting it until you say it's time to report it. That's not unusual, and it's not unlike what happened with Don Lemon and Georgia Ford.
Well, listen, you are totally correct that happens every day, and it's happened for decades. But if you watch what Mr. Lemon did, okay, and I do not want to have a trial right here. It's not fair to him. But I will say that if you watch the
I don't want to have a trial here. It's not fair to him. But let me smear him and say malicious things about him that could be considered defamation of his character. And let me try to interfere with the court case by weighing in my opinion here on CNN, his former network, to you now, Dana Bash, so that people in America think he's guilty.
Publicly available live streaming that he engaged in, the comments that he made, I mean, that's what it matters, right? It matters, like, how do we balance the FACE Act? How do we balance freedom of religion, the right of people to worship on a Sunday morning? Okay, and the freedom of the press, and it's a balance that we have to engage in. I agree with you, but my point to you is that I promise you that neither you nor your colleagues can honestly, with a straight face, if you watch everything that he did in the day before with the planning and the day of with what happened when the comments he made while the kids were crying and screaming and racing away while the parents were looking for their children upstairs,
but he doesn't
while they were just trying to have a church service.
Okay. Bottom line question for you is, was this really about...
Look at this disgusting weasel. This guy has no answers, man. I don't know how he goes home to his family after this, knowing that he is protecting the pedophiles. It's disgusting. I'm not sure if he's married or not. If I was his wife, I would leave him immediately. Take the kids. This guy's a monster. Get away from him.
What you just described, or was it about trying to make an example out of somebody who the president has sparred with?
I don't even know that the president's even ever thought of Don Lemon. I don't know whether that's true or not. But I will tell you, we're not making examples of people. The day after that happened, the Attorney General flew to Minneapolis. She was there for 3 days. What we saw, there is no scenario under which the American people are comfortable or think that that was right. I'm sorry. So no, it's not about making an example. It's about justice.
I want to move on. But the White House, on the official Twitter handle, celebrated his arrest with the media. And
it's absurd. He literally goes, I don't think Trump has ever even thought of Don Lemon. Obviously, Trump isn't running the White House social media, but they targeted him. When life gives you lemons, chain emoji. Yeah, that's not racist at all. And by the way, Donald Trump tweets about Don Lemon all the time. He's always tweeting about everybody. He knows everybody. You think Trump is living under a rock? He knows who Don Lemon is. He knows what happened. He probably gave the order. He said, go ahead, do it. Do you think anybody in this administration does anything without Trump's knowledge and consent? Really?
A chain emoji, and it's pretty clear that they're very well aware in the White House of this. I want to ask about Georgia.
No, I didn't say they weren't aware. Wait. Hold on a second.
And they were celebrating. That was afterwards.
You said that. No. You said that President Trump had some vendetta or something against Mr. Lemon. I said I don't know whether he even ever thought of Mr. Lemon. I have no idea.
Yesterday,
You're right.
he called
There
him
was
a sleazebag.
a tweet that went out.
Just so you know, he called him a sleazebag just yesterday.
After his arrest. After his arrest.
Okay. You said a lot of things before that, and it's mutual. But let me move on to Georgia. Earlier this week, the FBI.
This guy's such an idiot. He's acting like Trump has never tweeted about Don Lemon once. That's absurd. That's absolutely absurd. This is how you know this administration is falling apart. They're slipping. This stuff doesn't work anymore. It doesn't play anymore. It doesn't slide the way it used to. You know, back in 2017, 2018, in the first term, Trump could say whatever he wanted. It would be evocative. People would get all crazy about it. But now it's just a bunch of creepy pedophile protectors who are just lying about everything. And this entire time, you look back on it, you realize Trump was protecting the pedophiles all along. He's involved as well. Trump said he would drain the swamp. Trump is the swamp. Trump is the most nasty swamp creature we've got. And he needs to be drained.
I went into the elections office in Fulton County, Georgia, to seize 2020 ballots, voter rolls, scanner images, and the president told reporters, quote, "They got into the votes. You're going to see some interesting things happening." What interesting things is he talking about, and why was he so involved in an FBI and DOJ raid?
Well, just because he said that doesn't mean that he's involved. I don't believe he was involved. This is a criminal grand jury investigation, and I can't comment on it beyond what you just said, which is that there was a search warrant that was authorized by a federal judge, by a magistrate judge in Atlanta, that allowed us to go and seize those records, and they have been seized by the FBI as part of an ongoing criminal investigation.
He said interesting things are happening, so it sounds like he was briefed on it.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not around when the president's briefed or not briefed. What I said is that this is a criminal investigation, so it's a tightly held, as it must be under the law. It's a grand jury investigation, and that's how we're proceeding.
What are they investigating?
As you know, we can't talk about specifics of any grand jury investigation. I will tell you, as I said on Friday, as the president has said, election integrity is of the highest importance to the American people, hopefully to everybody in this country.
What a panicking little vermin. What a weasel. This guy needs to go to bed. Go to sleep. Go back home. Go retire. We don't need you in government. You're a traitor. You are pedophile first instead of America first. We thought this administration was going to be America first. These people are child rapists first. Epstein first, America last. Israel first, California last, Texas last, Ohio last, Illinois last, Minnesota last, every state last, Donald Trump first. What a joke.
Democrats and Republicans alike. And so we are doing everything we can to make sure that we have free and fair elections.
Okay, and as you well know, that when it comes to Georgia, claims of voter fraud there, because they got the 2020 ballots, have been debunked over and over again. There were multiple recounts. Why was the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, present at an FBI raid?
First of all, it wasn't an FBI raid. It was a search warrant being executed by FBI agents in the middle of the day.
Why was she there?
And secondly, I don't know why the director was there. She is not part of the grand jury investigation, but she is for sure a key part of our efforts at election integrity and making sure that we have free and fair elections. She's an expert in that space, and it's a big part of what she and her team look at every day. But beyond that, I don't, like I said before, this is a grand jury investigation being conducted by a U.S. attorney, and that's where we have to leave it for now.
Oh my God. That was
based on the discussion.
That was one of the most bizarre interviews I've ever seen. It was like every single question, he had a panic attack. He was absolutely terrified because how wouldn't you be? If you work for this administration, you know you're going to jail. That guy reeks of desperation. Oh my goodness. Wow, that was very, very bizarre to watch. Let's see if there's any other pieces of news that we should watch together. Again, thanks to everybody becoming a member today on YouTube, which you can do by clicking the join button. Make sure you click the like button so people know. Does everybody like, what do we think of my new Chiron? Everybody like this? Looks good. It says Josh the Progressive. Josh Greene reacts to breaking news. The Pulse. Later, I'm going to be able to change the headlines as well, so we'll be able to have different headlines for different stories. But I feel like now this kind of looks like a show, if you ask me, and this is my show. Mary, thank you for the $5. You are a true inspiration. Thank you. No, you are the inspiration. In fact, I'm inspired by everybody here because I would only be doing this show if you all came to join me and we all were able to enjoy the insanity together. So as much as I can serve as an inspiration to you all, I'd be grateful to do that. And likewise, you all inspire me because of your fight, of your tenacity, of your determination to return this country to a better promise. And honestly, I'm also inspired by my peers as well. I'm only, arriving at this level as a independent content creator because I'm being driven to this level by other, like-minded individuals that are tired of the mainstream corporate news networks, that are tired of the lies and the corruption, and instead want to focus on facts instead of fiction. So, respect to everybody who is here. We'll probably keep it a little bit shorter today, just because got some other videos I want to record for social media, so make sure you're following on Instagram and TikTok and all that. It's in the description box below this video. But yeah, as you can tell, we'll be live way more often on YouTube, even if sometimes it's just for an hour or two. It's nice to just go live, for a quick hour, hit some headlines, just check in with each other. So I appreciate you for being here. Yeah, everybody likes the Chiron, classy. People like it. Very cool. Awesome. But yeah, again, thank you, Mary, for the $5. Appreciate your support. Let's see what else. I want to answer some of your questions in the chat. Somebody says, much better than Midas Touch and Tyler Cohen. Well, thank you. I don't want to compare to others. I've met both of those teams. They're all great people. But I think one thing I want to do differently here is hit things with a bit more of a progressive lens. So no, this is not going to be a unbiased, moderate news network. We're not going to be unbiased. There's going to be bias here. But the bias is progressive policy, progressive politics. We want to talk about issues that affect Americans, issues that affect innocent people around the world, and not talk about random tabloid stories and conservative talking points that are just distractions from the real issues. One thing I want to talk about is what Trump is tweeting right now. You're going to like this. You are going to like this. Ready? Let me give you a better screen to look at this. Okay. Picture in picture. This is from Truth Social. Excuse me. Real Donald Trump. Not only wasn't I friendly with Jeffrey Epstein, wrong, but based on information that has just been released by the Department of Justice, Epstein and a sleazebag lying author named Michael Wolff, lying author who wrote the book about your first term, by the way, conspired in order to damage me or my presidency. So much for the radical left's hope against some of whom I'll be suing. Additionally, unlike so many people that like to talk trash, I never went to the infested Epstein Island, but almost all of these crooked Democrats and their donors did. It's so funny because it's just one lie after another, and then it gets disproven. Trump's like, I was never friends with Epstein, and then all this information came out about them being friends, and then he's like, well, we cut each other off after 2003 or whatever. And then there's all these pieces of evidence that they were still friends, and the birthday book, and the letter that Trump wrote with the naked woman, and now all these FBI tips about Trump purchasing 16-year-old girls. But you understand why he posts this stuff, right? He posts this because he knows he can get at least 28,000 or so of his, freak diehard supporters to believe what he's posting, knowing they haven't looked at the facts. They don't look at anything other than what he says. So he's trying to just keep his cult, his base in line. He's trying to keep his party in check. And he's like, just listen to me. Block out that outside noise. I'm the one telling the truth. So even though his lies seem ridiculous because it's like easily disprovable, he does it for a reason. This is the same thing about him saying that Melania's... his website is horrible, by the way. This is such a janky website. It's the same reason he says that like Melania's movie is a box office smash is because he knows his supporters won't bother to look at the numbers, the box office reports. They'll just read his tweets. Look at this. Look at these fuckers. Disgusting. She looks pretty unhappy. Where is it? He's talking about using our tax dollars to build the Trump Ark. If that happens, oh my God. Could you imagine billions and billions of your taxpayer? I guess it wouldn't cost billions, but it would be millions of dollars to build this arch in DC. It would probably say Trump on it and it would be made with gold. He's actually talking about making this. That's why he says ours will be the greatest of them all. And even if later on it's a beautiful structure, but it was named Trump or it was ever named Trump, even if they renamed it, this thing has to be destroyed. We cannot have any evidence of Trump in our country because future generations will be like, how did you allow this to happen? The only thing we need to do is make sure that the facts never get distorted so that we can learn from this, so that history cannot repeat itself. Trump must be taught in schools, but he cannot be remembered through statues and arches. The only arches is McDonald's that relate to Trump and the breasts of a woman he drew in the Epstein book. Weird. Where's his tweet about Melania? Yeah, he's claiming that like it's having a big opening because it's a documentary and it made some money. But folks, this thing costs over $75 million to make. It's going to lose like $70 million. But Melania already got her money, so. And of course, everybody saw this, right? Trump says, the Grammy Awards are the worst, virtually unwatchable. CBS is lucky not to have this garbage litter their airwaves any longer. What do you mean? Is the Grammys leaving CBS or something? The host, Trevor Noah, whoever he may be, it's almost as bad as Jimmy Kimmel at the low ratings Academy Awards. Noah said incorrectly about me that Donald Trump and Bill Clinton... Why does he talk about himself in the third person? What a freak. Spent time on Epstein Island. Wrong! I can't speak for Bill, but I have never been to Epstein's Island, nor anywhere close. Really? And until tonight's false and defamatory statement, have never been accused of being there, not even by the fake news media. Noah, a total loser. I thought you just said you didn't know who he was. Better get his facts straight and get them straight fast. It looks like I'll be sending my lawyers to sue this poor, pathetic, talentless dope of an MC and suing him for plenty $. Ask little George Slopadopoulos. It's funny he calls George Slopadopoulos because you're the slop president. Your entire presidency is just filth. It's just slop. All you do is post AI slop. All you talk about is just slop. And others, how that will work out. Also ask CBS, get ready, Noah. I'm going to have some fun with you. That's creepy, man. I don't like when he says that because it makes me think about what he did to those little kids. I'm like, I don't want to hear you talking about having fun with anybody. Nobody had fun the way you touched them and abused them, allegedly. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. So, yeah. Let's see if there's any breaking news we should record about. Let me read some of your chats. Let me read some of your chats. Let's see. Let's see what else is new. I'm at work. I'm missing the chat. No worries. You're a member. You get to do whatever you want. Fox News is still talking about the Melania movie. What a joke. Yeah, look at this clip from Fox News. This is embarrassing. Watch. Let me show you this. Everybody see this? Remember her, Kayleigh McEnany? She was the first press secretary.
It soared past expectations, bringing in more than $7 million at the box office in its opening weekend. Now, that is the most of any non-concert documentary in a decade. Now, legacy film reviewers were so certain that it wouldn't do well, they would be wrong. Emily, my mom went to this weekend in Florida. She said not only was the theater packed, it was, standing room only if you could try to sneak in the back of the theater. People were cheering.
That's how you know this story is complete BS. Standing room only? That's not a thing. When's the last time you've been to a movie, you idiot? There's no such thing as standing room only. You don't stand in the movie theater. That's ridiculous. So I find that the theater was so full that people had to stand. I find that entire premise very hard to believe. You dumb idiot.
Through it, they were excited. It was interactive. People interplaying with the film. She said it was just electric.
People were interplaying with the film? What? No, they weren't. No, they weren't. Because how would that have happened if your mom didn't even attend? Because apparently it was standing room only, which is made up. What a ridiculous statement. That's absurd. It was standing room only. I'll take things that never happened for 1,000. Very real story. Yep. See if there's anything else new. Somewhat slow news day today, surprisingly. All right, check this out.
But I will say that this...
We can just go through some of my Twitter feed together. Andrew Schulz, this is the right-wing podcaster, admits leftists were correct about Trump all along.
But I will say that this was a breaking point for me in the way that the administration responded to it. I didn't think what's happening right now with ICE could happen in America. I genuinely did not think that was possible. I thought our institution, I thought the Constitution would hold up. When I see it and then immediately defend it, I start to go, we gotta be very loud about this. It all of a sudden becomes not liberal catastrophic thinking. It starts to become very reasonable, nuanced criticism of the administration. They have just made the most far left critiques of the Trump administration. Their reaction to this has just justified all of them. In one moment, all of their responses, from Trump to Kash Patel, they have justified every single and I know people will probably look at this and be like, they've done a million other things to justify them. Sure, and that's fair. But this specific situation, I think, is a breaking point and has justified all those criticisms. I think people's antennas are way up, and people's antennas that were not up initially.
This is like seeing the Epstein files. Because it's
wouldn't it be nice if we got those?
It's damn, y'all really been lying to us. Damn, you really lying to us. Let me ask you a question.
Yep.
So ridiculous. It's this was your breaking point, really? The funny thing is, a lot of people are leaving MAGA because they feel Trump isn't going far enough with his deportations. They're mad that he's not deporting everybody. Look at this tweet. My Twitter is amazing. If NFL doesn't immediately switch the halftime show from whoever Bad Bunny is, they will see the largest viewership drop in Super Bowl history. The boycott will be bigger than the game itself. Really? You think so? You really believe that? You really think that this Super Bowl is going to be a viewership drop? The Seahawks, Patriots, with Bad Bunny, arguably the most popular artist in the world right now in terms of streams, in terms of clicks. I mean, he has the entire Latin market. What is one of the most popular languages in the world? Spanish. Think about all the people from around the world who are going to find ways to tune in because they want to watch Bad Bunny. They might not even care about the Super Bowl, and they're going to watch. This thing's going to be the most highly rated Super Bowl of all time, by far. By far. But your little boycott, I'm sure we're going to notice that. And it's because of this. It's because Bad Bunny said this in his speech. By the way, so everyone knows, Bad Bunny won Album of the Year. It's amazing. Right before a Super Bowl performance, and this is what he said.
Before I say thanks to God, I'm gonna say eyes out.
You could tell that took genuine courage from him to do. By the way, notice how it's always, brown people, black people who speak out in Hollywood especially. It's never the white people who are safe and protected. It takes somebody like Bad Bunny to speak out, and I completely respect it. In fact, I've already been coming on to Bad Bunny's music as a new fan, and I'm totally happy with what I'm seeing from him. It's really cool. It's really awesome. His music is awesome. I'm not fluent in Spanish, but I just want to tell everyone watching, his new album is amazing. It's like a combination of Puerto Rican history through the music. There's salsa and classic Puerto Rican music adapted to a modern lens. So it's club music, dance music, pop music, rap music. It's such a great combination of genres all blended together into something that turns out to be so cohesive and fun to listen to. And again, even if you don't understand the lyrics because you don't speak Spanish, the singing is amazing, the rapping is awesome, and then you can look up the translations as well, and it makes it a more fun read because you can dive into the meanings. Go Seahawks. And then look at this too. This is moron Matt Walsh, who literally believes in fascism. Land cannot be stolen if no one is illegal. Nobody is illegal on stolen land. This is what Billie Eilish said. She's great, by the way. She gives credit to the white community. We get some points from her because I was just saying how not a lot of white people at the Grammys speak out. You got Bad Bunny and others, but Billie Eilish has always been a real one.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
That right there, too, is proof Sabrina Carpenter's woke.
And yeah, it's just really hard to know what to say and what to do right now. And I feel really hopeful in this room, and I feel like we just need to keep fighting and speaking up and protesting, and our voices really do matter, and the people matter, and I say sorry.
It gets censored at the end. Does anybody in the chat know what she ended up saying? I can look it up later, but I guess she said something like "fuck the fascist USA" or something. They censored it, so I'm not really sure. By the way, for this camera, I'm starting to experiment with my new logos and stuff. I want to try and, because I look this way at my screen usually, maybe I'll flip those, and I think that looks a little bit better, honestly, because now it looks like I'm looking at y'all. But let's see what else. Let's see what else. God, MAGA people are such morons. Look at this. I don't see a single blue state, just blue cities trying to tell us all how to live. Let's look at this for a second. That's probably a better way to pull this up. There we go. Hey, Shannon, where do you think the people live? Where do you think the humans live on this map? Where do you think people live? Because I can tell you wholeheartedly, there's not a lot of people here. And there's not a lot of people living here. And there's no people here. I mean, there's people, and they live there. But where do you think a majority of the U.S. population lives? Trying to tell us all how to live. No, actually, I think it's the reverse happening. I think it's these giant red splots on the map trying to tell us how to live, where the people live. And we want to talk about DEI. Electoral college is DEI. It's making equality for red states. That's what DEI is. It's trying to make you guys feel included. It's trying to make sure that things are more fair. Well, it's not fair to where the people live. Benny Johnson's a joke. I don't even want to read what he says. All right, let's look at this. Oh, she said, fuck ICE. That's awesome. Yeah, it sucks they censored that, but, you know. Look at this. This is the good people of Minnesota telling an ICE agent how they feel.
Get the fuck out! Yeah! Yeah! Cover your damn face! Cover your damn face! Bitch! Fucking bitch! Fuck you! Fuck you! Where's your license plate, you piece of shit?
They ran him out.
I'm telling you, mine, yalla. Let them get out. Let him go. Let him go. Let him go. Come on.
Pussy. Yep. All right. Well, like I said, we go a little bit shorter today. I'm going to call it for today, just so that I can get on TikTok, Instagram, post some short videos about breaking news this afternoon. Appreciate you for tuning in today. We'll be back tomorrow around 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. Same show, same format, but I'm sure there'll be some crazy shit that happens because every single day in this Trump administration is a horror movie. Thanks for subscribing by clicking the subscribe button. Thanks for liking this video. Please share this channel to help me share the truth. Real independent media needs your support. Consider joining as a member by clicking the join button. And make sure you're following on all my other socials. Appreciate you for being here. Thanks for the time today. Thanks for staying alive in this fight, staying active, staying engaged. Stay vigilant and fight the fascist Trump regime. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.